what does it mean to be a champion? It's more than winning. It's much more than winning. It is having everything come together and coalesce at a time where one person is able to bend the sport to his will. And that has, if you follow racquetball from its inception, you will see that the sport takes on the style almost of the person that is the number one player. And typically, that person will change every 10 years. If you check the timelines of how things work, there's usually a Marty Hogan coming along to follow up the Charlie Brumfield championship reign, and his game was completely different than mine, and the players that followed all played similar games to Marty and still do. Now, we've talked about the equipment and how the equipment in great part will structure what kind of a game wins at the top level. And as we've talked, the ball sped up and the rackets got larger and lighter, and different kinds of shots were being hit. One of the big changes was the proliferation of glass courts, and the glass court, I might add, very much hurt the counter hitter, because I was primarily a counter hitter. I dominated the center court, and I awaited the ball to counter hit before the player could recover from returning serve, and then I could take control of the rally to either move the opponent or to score at that time. I think that in Hogan's case, because he was so young when he ascended to the throne, he did not himself exert a conscious effort to have everyone play his game. He simply played his game.
Yeah.
And the equipment had changed coincidentally right when he got to be old enough to, finish the deal. He wasn't intimidated. He wasn't capable of being outslugged. He didn't tire. He had all the elements to play that game, including a blistering serve. And he had the ability to do one thing that I've never seen anyone else do, and that is he could return serve without driving or shooting the ball. He could simply hit a splat, which you had to have witnessed it. You had to have been down on the court at least for one game to see why that made such a huge difference in the outcome of the play. Because his splat ball would break, it seemed like at least 3 feet. And it would go like this, and it would, it accelerated off the second bounce. And if it made it over to the third wall, the right side wall, when it hit that wall, it would go straight up in the air. I mean, it was literally blind man's bluff for us trying to deal with it. And, here it's doing, and then we hit it, and there he is walking in. Well, is he going to lose that rally? No. And now he's going to be serving the bullet at 145 or whatever. And there's a huge difference if you try to go in with a small racket the way he was able to hit the bullet with versus a longer racket and try to return that serve. Because we could barely get our rackets on it, and nowadays the champions, they can, no matter how hard you hit it, they can kill it. I believe that when you're talking about athletes of Hogan's caliber, that it wasn't because of anything special that the new pros were able to do. It was the extra 3 or 4 inches on the racket and how much lighter it was, that they were able to get their racket on it. And then, once you could do that, then Hogan's magic was gone because the ball got changed, where it didn't splat like that. It didn't have the exterior cover that would grab and do the bouncing. And his racket was part of it, and he used a graphite racket, and I'm sure that was a financial decision of the employer, because those rackets were more profitable.
More expensive, yeah.
But it left Marty, unbeknownst to him, without two of his best weapons. And that's unfortunate. Plus, at the same time, the racquetball world was in turmoil, and it had moved from Charlie Drake, Leach Industries, and Bob Kindler controlling the sport, and I might add the referees, to Echelon and its inner crowd running the sport. Now, I have no evidence that the Echelon people manipulated draws. There's no evidence. I've never heard even a rumor about it. But I'm sure they weren't that happy about what they had seen from the previous 5 years. And there were plenty of rumors about that going on. So I don't know what happened, but I do know that a guy that if he played like he played in 1976 and 77, where he just dominated through the whole season, and he just didn't have enough age and maturity about him to be able to take that into what was called the Nationals at that time. I don't think Mr. Yellen would have the record quite as good as his record is now, because Hogan was a bitch to beat when he never hit it off the back wall and you did. And Yellen didn't have the splat. Yellen played a traditional game at the highest level, but his ball didn't do those strange things. He had to drive or shoot the serve return. And when you drive or shot the serve return with the big racket and the ball the way it was, there was a lot of balls coming off the back wall. If he was playing with Hogan, the Hogan from 76 and 77, that's adios. Mm-hmm. So it always was a mystery to me how it was that Yellen was able to interrupt Hogan's march in history as well as he did, and he obviously deserves credit for doing that, but it was still a mystery to me how it could have occurred. Mm-hmm. And the best answers I have are the two I've just given you.